Today, we're going to be finding out if humans are OP. This is a video, Are Humans OP? We're reacting to it. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's check it out.
This episode was sponsored by Skillshare.
My guess? Probably. I would assume. Or, well...
Human beings. Are they as overpowered as the game's community would lead you to believe?
Yes.
Short answer, yeah.
Yeah.
They're the most meta-defining build of all time, and the undisputed top build in the current expansion. But believe it or not, this wasn't always the
Okay, I like this. This is like from a gamer's perspective. It's like talking in like gamer terms. I like this.
case. Humans used to get bodied left and right on a daily basis by other players. And it took a pretty long time before the player base learned how to actually make use of the human build's unique abilities. The story of
human build's unique abilities.
Humans' rise to dominance is a really interesting one.
Bro, woolly mammoths were that small? I thought they were big. I thought they were like really, really big elephants.
And so today, we're going to do an in-depth look at the humans' abilities, their strengths, and their weaknesses. Because yes, they do have weaknesses. We'll also go over notable matchups, and finally look at the steps
Notable matchup. This is so good.
human players took in order to reach their dominant status. First, their unique abilities. I touched on this topic in my video about primates, but I'll recap here and also go into more detail. First off the bat, we have their ability to throw things. Other builds
Their ability
can
to throw things.
but humans can do so harder, faster, and further than anyone else.
Yo, we're kind of
The
OP
reason
with
for
throwing.
this is their body structure. Bipedal builds are tough to balance,
Only thing we don't throw? The fight. The match. The game.
both in the game development sense and the center of mass sense. Throwing an item with any real force behind it requires serious balance, achieved only by having shorter arms and longer legs. This is why humans can launch projectiles at deadly speeds, whereas other primates kinda just lob things without putting much effort into it. If they tried to, they would knock themselves over. Even if chimpanzees could figure out how to craft a spear, there's no way they could throw it hard enough to deal any significant damage. Next, their stamina regeneration. Humans can chase down anything.
We don't get fatigued.
You try to run from a human, you might outspeed them initially, but you'll run out of stamina much sooner than they will, and they'll catch up to you while you're in your weakened state. This is partially because of their superior balance again, but mostly it's because of the human build's unique choice to not spec into fur. This gives them access to the extremely broken ability Sweat. Every other current build that's decent at distance running recharges stamina by using the move Pant. This works great, but it does require the user to stop running. Sweat, on the other hand, works better while moving, massively extending the distance a human player
dude,
can
what
run.
the hell? Dude, I kind of like learning about this from in the way of like a gamer. This is cool.
A few other important abilities that are essential to their kit, but aren't unique to humans. Their ability to speak is unique among mammals, but some birds can pull it off too. In humans,
But some birds can pull it off too. I like that. That's kind of funny.
the ability to speak allows them to use one of their signature moves, Teach, which drastically boosts skill point gain, mitigating the main penalty a player receives upon getting a game over. Humans and birds also share another unique trait, which is being able to
Dude, that is such an interesting way to put it.
moves Teach, which drastically boosts skill point gain, mitigating the main
Mitigating
penalty a player receives upon getting a game over.
death. You can teach things to other people. I like that. I like that. I like
Humans
that.
and birds also share another unique trait, which is being able to stand upright. Standing upright is extremely useful for dealing with stealth builds that might normally be using tall grass to hide.
Oh,
Tool use also might be thought of as a human-exclusive move, and it certainly is the most effective to humans. But it turns out a pretty wide array of other builds can also do it. Birds, primates, cephalopods, and even fish can use tools on occasion. But sweating and throwing, uniquely human. Now onto their weaknesses. And yes, it's true that currently most human players can subvert these with their crafting skill. But it's important to recognize that without equipment, the human build isn't necessarily unstoppable. The decision to not have fur granted humans a massive buff to mobility at the cost of stealth. In the mammal faction, fur is a prerequisite to all of the major stealth abilities like camouflage, and lack of stealth abilities means getting in close on their targets is a serious challenge. The human build's lack of fur also means they have very low defense, both from physical attacks and from environmental effects. Bare skin offers almost zero armor, to the point where even players from lower weight classes have no trouble dealing damage to humans. And bare skin also takes quite a bit of damage from the sun too.
damn.
Humans are also pretty limited when it comes to the power stat. Physically, they're the weakest of the great apes, and don't really have any good options for dealing damage. They lack the classic high damage bite attack that nearly every other non-herbivorous build relies on, instead having to resort to blunt attacks like punch and kick, which we all know aren't very effective against builds that have thick fur or skin. The last major weakness I can see is that they're pretty bad at dealing with stealth. The lack of night vision means darkness can really hamper their ability to locate targets.
That is scary.
And their lack of a strong sense of smell means camouflage is especially useful against them. Okay, now let's talk about matchups. Obviously, a key feature of the human build is being able to craft equipment.
Yeah.
Given basic equipment like low-level armor and hunting gear, the human's best matchup is going to be medium-large mammals.
Okay.
Unlike blunt damage, piercing damage is quite effective versus builds with thick hide. But on defense, they're actually pretty awful. A human's only option on defense against a large mammal is intimidation, unless they've got some crazy high-level equipment. But I'll make a video on power creep later. The classic human equipment cannot stop a charging tank main unless the intimidate attempt works. But overall, this matchup is one of the reasons humans became top tier. Hardly any builds have favorable matchups against tanks. But that's not to say humans don't have their counters though. As I said before, stealth can be really effective against them due to their lack of a keen sense of smell and night vision. Humans have the ability to win pretty much any fight as long as they've got time to prepare. But taken by surprise, humans have a lot fewer options. Another thing humans have trouble dealing with is flight. Even when a human has a ranged weapon, players with high aerial mobility are pretty safe during flight. Now, as far as I know, there aren't any bird builds powerful enough to one-shot humans, which is important because blunt attacks like punches are actually quite effective against birds. Birds have hollow bones that are resistant to tension.
Dude, I kicked the chicken once. I kicked the chicken because it was attacking my dog. I think that's a normal thing to do.
But not compression. This is the opposite of mammal bones, which are
What the hell? That's what bird bones look like inside? They're hollow.
Resistant to compression and tension, but not torsion. The point is, birds aren't the best choice against humans, but flight has been unlocked by 4 different classes in the game. Birds, which we just discussed, aren't a good choice. Bats, which do even less damage than birds. Reptiles, which unfortunately had their aerial builds banned in patch 1.3.1.
That's funny, dude. I like that.
And insects. Flying eusocial insects have by far the best matchup versus humans in the entire game. Humans have 0 counterplay against a swarm of stinging insects. I mean, sure, there are special items that they can use to combat swarms if they're prepared, but the amount of human mains who've chosen that as one of their prestige abilities is pretty small. Humans' lack of fur means they have no innate defense against stings. Stings also have the chance to proc the anaphylaxis debuff, which can actually lead to
anaphylaxis debuff.
And it's for this reason that the high score for human eliminations belongs to the Africanized honeybee, known better by its community-given name, the killer bee.
Damn.
And even if the stings don't proc the allergic reaction effect, they will still definitely achieve their primary goal of dropping their resolve to 0 and granting you control over the territory. And we can see that lately the viability of killer bees has only been growing now that they've expanded their territory outside of Africa. Which brings me to my main point.
Mexico unleashed killer bees on us. I'm glad that I live all the way over here. Bro, killer bees are not succeeding in South Florida. You want to know why? Mosquitoes. I think the mosquitoes would just swarm all the killer bees before they could do anything. Those mosquitoes, bro, if you've ever gone to the Everglades, you can't even breathe. There's no air. You breathe mosquitoes. That's how many fucking mosquitoes are in the Everglades. It's disgusting. You are just riddled with if you have not like applied a thick layer of repellent to yourself, you will leave the Everglades covered in a bunch of little red bumps. It is terrible.
Are humans overpowered?
Yes.
Well, just like the Africanized honeybee, humans really only became OP once they escaped the African server and invaded other areas. Notice how humans took down megafauna across every terrestrial server except Africa. The African tank mains have the matchup experience and counterplay options to deal with the vast array of skills humans have access to. But the rest of the community was totally unprepared to deal with the rapid invasion of new human mains invading their competitive scene. In other words, the devs could have prevented the massive destabilization of the current meta if they'd region-locked humans. Staying competitive in the meta requires a good player constantly be leveling up their skills. There's no better example of this than the rapid rise to dominance that humans experienced. If you'd like to level up your own skills and unlock new ones...
That was good. That was a very interesting video. I feel like I actually got informed on some stuff. I learned things. I like how it was very much video game dialogue. Like it was explained from the perspective of a gamer. I really like that. Talking about patches, talking about builds and all of that. That was really cool. That was a fun video. I would watch more of these videos. That was cool. I like that. What do you guys think about this one? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't just leave a comment. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Yo, let me know some other things that you would like me to react to. You can leave a comment down in the comments. That sounded stupid, but until next time, make sure you all keep it fresh. Peace.